Hello, thanks for joining me, astrologer Patrick Arundell, for your in-depth horoscope forecast for week commencing the 19th of August for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be grateful if you did so now. This week begins with a shift of emphasis beginning to take shape. Late last week, Mars, the planet of drive, moved into the sign of Virgo. Now, this is a bit counterintuitive because Mars is about the individual. It's about our desire to get instant gratification. It's a more masculine energy. Of course, Virgo is the Virgin. It is about sacrifice and purity. But Mars in this area can see us able to work harder, sustain our efforts in a much more focused way, and look for tangible results. Now, Mars is going to be joined on Wednesday by Venus. Now, Venus in the sign of Virgo is also quite self-sacrificing. And then they're both joined on Friday by the Sun, which returns to Virgo for the first time in 11 months. Now, in the last phase of this week, the three are going to be together. So we have a stellium. And this is going to be fascinating because they're also going to be linking to Uranus in the sign of Taurus. So we have this greater emphasis on the things that require our attention to detail and where we need to be thorough and precise and discriminating, which all comes from that Virgo energy. But there's also a push to be creative, inventive, and a bit spontaneous, which is coming from the energy from Uranus. Also, as we enter into this week, we still have the backdrop of last week's Venus-infused full moon, which occurred in the sign of Aquarius. So we were already being asked to juggle our priorities and manage our time, especially in a social or romantic context. So I think what this Virgo energy is going to ask us to do is really focus. And the interesting thing also is there is a quarter moon on Friday in the sign of Gemini, which could see us tempted, because of the Virgo energy, to almost be too virtuous and to try to pack in so much at the end of this week that we actually end up spreading ourselves too thinly. So really prioritizing on what's really important is going to be really helpful. And the other thing that's happening this week is that Mercury, now it's going forwards in the sign of Leo, is actually forging a superb angle to Jupiter. So Jupiter, of course, is in Sagittarius itself going forwards. So if there is a scheme which requires us to think big, be positive, but apply ourselves in a very precise way, which is supported by this Virgo energy, well, we're certainly getting it all together. But it's important to understand that the stellium between the Sun and Venus also links with Mars, and that's quite a sultry combination. So it may say us orientated in some way with our passions to do something that can be good for someone or good for a relationship, but especially where we can think of another person's needs and be a bit more thoughtful or practical in the way that we help them. Your specific forecast, Scorpio, looks really positive. Your ruler Mars moved at the end of last week into a much more sociable and interactive part of your scope. And there is going to be a trend of energy developing towards that that's supported by this week's changes. This sees Venus move midweek and the Sun on Friday also into the sign of Virgo. And in the last half of the week, Mars, Venus, and the Sun come together in a stellium. Well, Mars gives you thrust. The Sun is basically about your essential needs. And Venus is going to give you the ability to attract good things to you. This is a very sociable combination. It's also possible that if you're mixing and mingling, there could be a romantic dimension to it if you can get out there and seize the opportunity with both hands. Now, of course, there has been a big emphasis on your sector of worldly interaction. And last week's full moon occurring in the sign of Aquarius just asked you to stay conscious of your needs in terms of your support structure, your emotional health, and giving yourself a balance between work and life demands. But because that full moon also featured Venus, I think it's possible that you have been on something of a surge and maybe attracting more attention. Now that can pick up this week, but it may be at times a case of who as much as what you know. But with Mercury in the sign of Leo still and forging a brilliant angle to Jupiter, the planet of fortune, which of course is now travelling forwards, I still think that whatever goals you have set or have been working towards recently still have a terrific chance of success. It is true that there is a quarter moon, which occurs on Friday too, in the sign of Gemini. And for you, that's about details. So it is going to be important to think things through. The square that's forged with the Virgo sun just suggests that when it comes to the details that are important to you, perhaps it's around your finances, especially around collective finances or subscriptions or where you're involved in group activities. But generally, perhaps there could be part of you that is not wanting to experience so much or any politics in situations. And in a romantic situation, because of Venus and Mars being together, if you and a partner can celebrate the things you have in common, that's going to be a very good thing to do. If you'd like to know more about personal astrology based on your time, date and place of birth, please click on the link beneath this video. You have a chance to order a year's forecast and your character analysis at 30% off discount, or you can choose to have a one-to-one consultation with me personally. But for now, good luck and goodbye.